Hello, my name is Kevin and welcome to the Love Decanters channel. So, this is the tale of my visit to Affleck Bridge Antiques in Finedon. Finedon used to have a lot of antique shops and I used to go there regularly, and then they all seemed to close. This is one I think I've been there before, but yonks ago maybe. But I thought they'd all closed, and we went for a trip to Finedon to just have a walk around, and I found Affleck Bridge was open. They're not on the internet or anything, so which is why I probably thought all of them were closed. And when I was there, I bought a sword. Yeah, I know. You know how it is. You buy, you see something, you really like it. There is a video for that. So yeah, please, I upgraded my sword video. I hope, please watch. It's not glass, but still interesting anyway, I think. And what else? And so I'm having to split this in half. It's not as big as the other places, but it was going to be over an hour on its own, so I split it in half, so not two really long videos, just two slightly shorter ones. And I did buy something in part two, so yeah, I was there without my wife the second time. Yeah, I know. I didn't spend a lot though. So anyway, with that said, let's get on and watch what we find in Affleck Bridge Antiques in Finedon. So I'm here in Finedon today at Affleck Bridge Antiques. It's like a small antique centre, antique shop. You see on Church Street. I'll get my finger out of the picture, and yep, there it is. It's got this green awning, and yeah, I've just parked down the street. I came yesterday for the first time, and there was plenty of parking yesterday as well. So, and it's very quiet here. And yeah, and there's another shop next door, but that's not open. I've looked through the window, it looks interesting, but yeah, it is what it is. So let's get on and make this film. Looking through the window, and I know this isn't glass, but yeah, look at this hot staple repair on this jug here. It's really quite cute. I quite like this with the whippet or greyhound handle, and it's got dogs running. It looks like they're after something, can't tell what it is, but yes, probably terrible deeds are happening further around the jug that I can't see from here. But yeah, that's quite a nice jug. I'm still outside because I think I can see this little dish here best from here. You can see it looks like it's got uranium glass feet on it, and it's got quilted satin glass. It might be Thomas Webb. I know what book I'm going to look in to look that up. Yeah, it's quite nicely done. The book I'm looking at here is Decorative Victorian Glass by Cyril Manley. Now, there are 6 pieces in here that are quilted satinware. This one, it says, is Bohemian, but the texture of this one is different from the one that we're looking in the window. These ones and these two look similar, and this one, which is called Rainbow Satin, is the same colorway as the one we were looking at with different colors. So all of these ones are made by Thomas Webb, and this one is dated circa 1880, and it actually calls it the at one time thought to be the perfection of satinware. So yeah, this rainbow satin. So yeah, it's Rainbow Satin, I think, by Thomas Webb. Obviously I don't have an exact pattern for it, but I think that's what it is. They have some rather nice Victorian art glass here, and I'm going to use my Victorian decorative art glass book here to try and find these. What's interesting about this is the ruffle at the top is a bit like the rose blossom, Chinese rose blossom vases. Obviously this is not that, but just I wonder if they copied that style or if it's just what's the word, parallel evolution. I know I've shown you this article on plum bossing flower vases before several times. It's from the Glass Museum by Angela Bowie, and what she says in here is that these are she's seen these being sold as Victorian. Now when I've seen them out and about, usually people say Murano, but I can't find anything like that Epern that we were looking at. But the sort of like the frilly top, here it is, look at this, sort of like you've got a wave with ripples in it kind of thing. That's the way that Epern was, and this is what she's alluding to here. So yes, these are Chinese. That Epern is definitely Victorian, but here's these ones as well, the same, you know, undulating rim with a frill in it. There's another one, and you can see why people might just categorize these as Victorian when they're selling them. They're not even, you know, they've all got broken pontals, and you know, in the UK, Victorian glass that would be like this would all have polished pontals. So yeah, I've not seen anything like this kind of style of art glass that's Victorian that doesn't have a polished pontal. Maybe I'm overrating that, but anyway, yeah, so these are from China in the 1970s, and they're not Victorian. And I just thought, yeah, it's the first time that suddenly popped into my head that, yeah, this article talks about them being like Victorian. I've always seen them listed as Murano, but then this frilly top you see here, yeah, that's exactly what she's talking about. Anyway, here we go. This is nice. This looks like it might be John Walsh. I'm not certain, but we can look that up. I can't see. No, I can't see a label on it either. The book we're looking at here is The Glass of John Walsh by Eric Reynolds, and yeah, so this is the kind of thing. This is roughly the same shape. The only difference is that the little bulby bits, I can't think what the word would be, that you've got here, they're just upright here, they're kind of leaning over, but this is roughly what we're looking at. And you can see this little bit of the top that sticks up, that would be to hold the metal frame. The one thing about this factory drawings that they've got is that they don't show any of the metalwork that's intended for any of these pieces. So you can see things where, you know, there's an Epern in a dish and there's the Epern up above it and it just floats in the air. Or yeah, you have like decanters like this, which are intended to have either silver or plate, pouring lips, and they just come to a little skinny top because there's no pouring lip. So anyway, that's how they do it in these factory drawings. So you can see that would be intended to have a grill on the top like the one we saw, and yeah, and it might even be this one, but yeah, that picture's just smudged out, and so there we go. So I still believe it's John Walsh. These are drawn in a way that suggests that they are opalescent, so yep, I'm still sticking with that story. The jug here, I reckon that's Thomas Webb. It's got the sort of like little circles. Thomas Webb had a pattern called Mirror, and then the handle is made using the Thomas Webb patent from 1867. Was it? A rare Victorian cranberry jug. So yeah, I think that's Thomas Webb. I'll be able to look through some bits and pieces. I'll at least be able to show you the patent for the handle and this pattern in different books, but we can do that. This book is British Glass 1800 to 1914 by Charles Hajdemach. And yeah, so I did promise I was going to show you two things. This is the first one. So these are Thomas Webb's patterns, 1855 to 1880. And there's this one called Mirror. I see this date, 1905, and I start to feel a little less sure of myself. Now, I know other people did this pattern too. Not called it Mirror, I think Webb called it P. But anyway, Whitefriars called it P. I think Richardson's might have done it as well. But anyway, that 1905, I would have thought that jug was earlier. But anyway, I saw that pattern, I saw the handle, and I thought, ooh, you got a crossover of two, but yeah, people copied each other. Yeah. Anyway, so if it was Webb, the pattern would be called Mirror. So this book is the supplement to the Identification of English Pressed Glass by Jenny Thompson. And yeah, so this is the painting I'm talking about. Theirs is different from others in that it has this like serrated edges, and the ridges are kind of got sharp edges. Other ones are rounded. So yeah, and as you can see, the date of the patent is 1867. So yeah, other people copied it though, even though it had a patent, yeah, or registered a patent. But yeah, I would go with might be Thomas Webb. Yeah, another look at this from a different angle. Yeah, I might get underneath and try and see what it says underneath the label, because it's upside down there. The label just says £28. It's interesting, it's got a little print in the middle of the bottom bit. So that must be hiding the pomplomart from when it was blown. Interesting little feature, that. A couple of little bits of glass here. These look like they're from a lady's table set of some kind. They probably went in a leather case. What's interesting though is they look very similar, but they're very different things. This one, the one on the right, let's see if I can get my finger into the picture with this one here, it's moulded and the lid looks like it's copper, I think. So, in fact, you can see, I don't know if you can see very clearly, but just over here, there's a little green verdigris on it. So, yeah, so I think that's might be plate, which might make it a bit earlier. And then this one here, which kind of looks the same, but is a different beast because that is cut. I'll stop, there's a phone call coming in. I think I should clarify something I said there. So when I was talking about plate, I was talking about Sheffield plate, which is different from electroplated silver or EPNS. So Sheffield plate is something that was discovered in the 18th century, and basically Sheffield plate is layered combination of silver and copper that was used blah blah blah. It doesn't tell you how it's made, but anyway, basically you'd have a piece of copper and you'd put a thin, very thin sheet of silver on it and heat it and fuse the silver into the surface of the copper, and that's how silver plating was done earlier on, and it was called Sheffield plate, and usually it was done on copper. Later on we have electroplating, and yeah, this is giving you some dates here. I mean, this is right at the top, electroplating, but basically saying the patents, it was kind of like the process was started in the UK in 1839, but then patents for actually making it work and everything were put out in the 1840s. So, and because, you know, all this getting copper, making thin sheets of silver and then heating it and pressing onto the surface is so much harder than just if you can generate electricity than doing silver plating. Yeah, people went over to electroplating relatively quickly, I think, or as quick as they could, without going out of business, because that's what would happen if you didn't. So yeah, so because I could see green from copper coming through on that lid, it kind of implies that the mold blown bottle is probably early Victorian. So a few little bits in this cabinet here. This is quite a cute little cabinet. I think this is Bohemian. It looks very Bohemian. Oh, it's mold blown. Yeah, in case you don't know, this is a sugar dispenser. The way this is done the way a lot of case glass, Bohemian case glass is done, so I think it's them. I will check through the catalogues I have and see if I can find anything like that. But that is a sugar dispenser. You fill it with sugar. See the little thing at the bottom, it gives you like you tip it over and it gives you like about a teaspoon of sugar every time. I don't know who this one is by. I've looked underneath, it's got some initials and it says, looks like SA1 or TVS. TVS. I've seen that, or was that TVG? I wonder if that's Tyne Valley Glass. I think that might be Tyne Valley Glass. Yeah. So that's Tyne Valley Glass. They're a very good art glass maker. We'll see if we can find that. So I googled Tyne Valley Glass paperweight, and yep, all of these popped up, but none of them are like the ones we looked at. Yeah. There's sort of like similarities in some of them, but not exactly the same. Yeah. So I've seen Tyne Valley Glass once before on here. I quite rate them. They're still going. Their art glass, I did actually look at their paperweights as well while I was about it to see if they still do those. But yeah, they make nice cats though. Yeah. So they don't still make that paperweight, which means it's not brand new. But yeah, they are. Can I get this to go back? Yes. They do some nice glass. I mean, look at this. This is cool. Isn't that nice? But yeah, their glasses, they're reasonably original artists. They do things that are not exactly the same as anybody else's. And then these ones, yeah, these are fully marked. They're Caithness. So yeah, so yeah, they're quite nice. So I've been hunting around to see if I can find any similar Caithness paperweights, and this one here, which I then click through. It's in Pinterest. Okay, this is the funny bit, and then yoo-hoo, it's on 20th Century Glass. So yeah, my favorite site for IDing stuff. But yeah, so underneath here it's got Caithness glass on eBay, and there is one other cauldron paperweight for $5.99. Buy it now. So yeah, they're not that valuable. I don't think, you know, I think the Tyne Valley one is a nicer paperweight, and also it's Tyne Valley, so I suspect it rates a higher price just through being, you know, more of a one-off type thing, as opposed to, I mean, these are not mass produced in the same way, but yeah, Time Valley is making more individual pieces. Yeah, and Caithness is still going. I did actually have a plough through everything they're making today, and no, they're not making those ones anymore. The pair of these. Now, I think these look like Bagley Equinox little posy bowls. They were from 1938. After the war, they did them in black glass with polka dots, but these are pottery, and it just says England on it. I reckon these are copying Bagley, because this kind of motif looks very, very 50s. And this, as I said, there's a pair. This book is Miller's 20th Century Glass by Andy McConnell. This is the bowl I'm talking about. This is the Bagley Equinox bowl from 1938. Now, obviously this one's in amber, they have it in blue. They do it as an open bowl or a closed bowl like this. But Bagley also did a range that they brought out in the 50s called Jetique. And I know they did the Equinox bowl in this Jetique, which is black glass with these white polka dots. I looked in the 20th Century British Glass book by Charles Hajdemach, and they have Jetique in it as well, but they don't have any Equinox bowls, so we'll need to go online. So I did some searching online. All searches seem to lead to, well, they don't all lead to, but anyway, a lot of them do lead you to 20th Century Glass website, and here we are. Bagley number 3061 Art Deco polka dot black glass Equinox posy bowl, and it's, yeah, the black opaque range, blah blah blah, Jetique. So here it is. So yeah, this looks more like the little bowl that we were looking at that's made out of pottery. If you look at the base, you can see, and let's run through these pictures. So this is what it's like. Yeah, the top wasn't quite as crenellated as this, but the overall shape was the same. Where's the, there we go. See, the base is exactly the same. Look at this. There's a picture of the bottom of it. Look at that. That's exactly like we're looking at. Only other one, you can see the edge of the, you can see the raw pottery through it, and it said England on the bottom. So anyway, so yeah, that's what I was alluded to in that video where I was talking about it being like Bagley Equinox. This is exactly, and this shape is from 1938, but the design is more like this 1957. So I think they were copying this, which probably puts that little bowl at the end of the 50s, probably the 60s. So there we go. A little bit of glass in this cabinet here. Little Victorian Epergne in cranberry. And you've got a little cranberry jug. I think the stopper is missing for that. I think that's Thomas Webb. The way the handle is done is painted. That's the same as the other handle on the other jug. Painted it by Thomas Webb in 1867. But this is probably from the 1870s or 80s. So polished pontle, I can see that through the bottom there. Little, I don't know what that is. Serviette holder, I think it is. I think that's Italian. Looks very like a lot of the Italian wares I've seen. Not made by in Murano though. But interesting, this down here. Now I've seen something like this. Bigger bowl of this. Is it like Costa or Home Guard or what's he got? What's it say? Oh, he's got Costa written inside it. 58 pounds. Costa bowl glass. It says. I might be able. I think I can find that in the catalogues I've got. So we'll look that one up. Amongst the catalogues I have, this is the only representative I have of this. I don't know if it's I think it might be I think it's a centrifuge cast bowl. This is the only representative I have of it. It's a picture from the 1980 catalogue. I think I downloaded this from the Mats Linda website. So yeah, there's no pattern numbers or anything like that. I have earlier and later catalogues and it's not in those. So I think that puts it very close to 1980, but I think that's the best I can do for it. A few bits and pieces of glass in this cabinet here. This looks very Edwardian looking jug. I think that's designed to have a glass that goes in and hangs in the top. And then you've got this lovely blue opaline little boat. I think that's Davidson. I'll be able to look that up, I think. This book is The Peacock and the Lions by Sheilagh Murray. And here we are. This is in yellow purline. And yeah, so there's no date for this in this book. There is a little story that goes with this boat, in that this mould was made in Germany and the ship that was bringing it to the UK sank, and it took 4 years to recover, and the base of this mould got corroded and they had to remake it. So apparently the base of this boat, the mould is not as good as the one that did the sides. So I don't have an exact date. It says the purline pattern was registered in 1888. In another book, there is another bowl, which is like a four-pronged star. So basically like this two boats crossing each other. That does have a date of 1893. I would suspect that is probably the date for this as well. So I don't have that. I can't find that affirmatively written down. And I don't have any Davidson catalogues for 1890s either. So yeah, I can't confirm it either. But it probably is 1893. And we've got some paperweights by, yeah, I'm not interested in this Swarovski. And what are these? All right, okay, so I can just, can you see it? You can just see a label there, and I think it says Kerry glass. I've never heard of them, so I'm going to try and look that up. So a quick search of Kerry glass and it gets me through to this lovely example that's pretty much exactly the same as the one we were looking at, with the same label that I could see round the corner. And even better, a very nice dealer on Etsy tells you everything. When they're vaguish, you know they might be making it up, but this guy is giving you chapter and verse, blah blah blah, designed by Michael Harris. So he's the guy who started Medina Glass and Isle of Wight Glass. So yeah, he's an important guy. Produced by Kerry Glass in Isle of Wight, 1978 to 79, and which uses the same. Oh, that's Isle of Wight. There you go. Anyway, and then it tells you that they went out of business in 1985. So even if this wasn't quite right, the fact that they went out of business in 1985 tells you it's got to be older than that, which means it's vintage. You know, clearly vintage. But yeah, these dates are nice and early as well. That's over 40 years ago. Is there anything written underneath these? Nope, nothing that I can see. So, but that one, let's see if we can find that. Got a few more bits and pieces, I don't know. recognise this bird either. And there's these. And okay, so you can. I think I've mentioned this before. This Greek key pattern engraving. So this type of needle engraving was invented by John Northwood in 1865. There you go. And you can see these are very different. Well, I'm saying they're very different. You can see the etch pattern's a bit different. I mean, these were made right up until World War II, I think. So, but this one is a two-piece. You can see the stem is just drawn straight out of the bottom of the bowl, and then the foot is attached separately. But this one is a three-piece. So you can see, and then the stem has been added to the bottom of the bowl, and then the foot has been added to this. So this one is probably a Victorian one. Stop there inadvertently. Yeah, this is Krosno Josephina bowl here. I think it's relatively mild, probably made within the last 20 years. The way this place works is you've got this front shop, they've got another room just in here, and then in here they've got a bunch of cabinets, and that's it. So it's not a big place, but yeah, I bought a sword here yesterday, and I think it was a good price. But yeah, let's have a go through these cabinets. So these are quite nice molded. They look very Scandinavian. I can't see the label. Yeah, I don't know. They look Scandinavian, but I'm not certain. Very nice for Christmas though. I hadn't seen those angel candle holders before. They had a kind of Scandinavianish look around them, but I just hadn't seen them. So yeah, because I don't mind getting very bored, I had a look at a lot of glass angels online, and I managed to find out that they're made by L.E. Smith, who I've never heard of before. And yeah, so L.E. Smith, where's it gone? There we go. So Computer Weekly, or Collectors Weekly, very good site. Yeah, someone's done a little write-up on them. L.E. Smith from Jeanette, Pennsylvania, and company started in 1907, making this kind of ways, lamps and stuff like that out of pressed glass. So yeah, never heard of them before, but I don't know if they're still going. But they were at least going up until the, because saying they issued more things in 1979. So yeah, American glass. Don't see it very often on this side of the Atlantic. Yep. That looks Bohemian, but again, I don't recognise it. Oh, John Roche with the box. Yeah, John Roche. Because otherwise, I'd have just gone by this and gone, yeah, I have no idea. But John Roche, he did a lot of design for Waterford. Him and Jasper Conran did. I don't know what other designers they roped in, but they those two definitely. And then I don't recognise this. I don't think it's Kripska. It might be Murano or something. The label's the wrong way round. And this cabinet is locked. Don't know why this is here upside down. More glasses. We'll get back to that. Yeah, and this looks very Empoli. So there we have it for part one. I've yet to work my way through all those cabinets and go in the other room. But yeah, it's good. There's interesting bits and pieces in there. Real mix. And yeah, so please look forward to watching part two. The address and phone number of Affleck Bridge Antiques will be in the description below, and all the references that I use will be in the description below. And please remember to like and subscribe, because I will be making more, including part two. So thank you. Good night.